Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again to another edition of the Edlow Podcast. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. It's been a long time, but I'm back and hopefully back a little bit more permanently. Things have come up and gotten in the way. And so this became less of a priority. Plus, I mean, we had a really good run and we were doing a lot of a lot of different really cool podcasts, and I kind of got a little burnt out for a little while, and just thought, man, I don't know who I want to talk to, and it's been a while, and there were some things that I had to kind of work out, and I had to work out, and I felt like maybe I was using the podcast as more of a distraction than something that I actually wanted to do, and so kind of put it on hold, and now I'm back and hope I got a couple of them in the can now. So we're going to be doing a little bit more of these and having some more fun conversations. Quite frankly, I want to get back. I got a lot of really cool guests, a lot of celebrities, pro wrestlers, directors, movie people, and it was all super cool to have all that. The one problem though was that, like, I think those conversations, while fun for me, like I was having a great time. I didn't feel like necessarily those conversations were as gratifying as some of the conversations I just had with people I knew who have really interesting stories. And I think I'm going to get back to that a little bit more and interview people about their stories. So that's kind of where I'm hoping to go. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But that's how it's. So that's where we're at. So this one just, this one is really more just me, just trying to get myself back in the swing of things. We had some really cool comments, questions that come out. Appreciate everybody who sent just a message saying they were excited to have the podcast back up. That means a lot to me, that people are actually listening and care about the content. That means a lot. So I really appreciate that. I'm not gonna, I got a bunch of those comments and I'm not going to read any of those. Just because there were a bunch of them, and I just say thank you to everybody who said that. But yeah, so just here with my dog Buddy. He's in here with me while I'm podcasting, and had this dog now for a really long time, and he's grown on me. I used to want to just throw him off the balcony sometimes, but he's grown on me, and we've grown quite an understanding, and now he won't leave me alone. So here we are, me and Buddy doing our podcast. Anyway, he's okay. All right. So, for those of you who might be new to the podcast or haven't listened before, here's how it goes. So these Just Me podcasts, I go out on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook, mainly, sometimes on TikTok, sometimes on Twitter, though I'm not as active on those. And I just post out there and say, hey, I'm doing Just Me. Here's a link to an anonymous app that you can post questions or comments, and I won't even know who you are. So you can say whatever you want, and I'll read it on the air as long as it's, appropriate. And then I go, and if you don't want to do the app, but you just want to send me something as a comment or whatever, or put it in a direct message to me, or you want to comment on the story or the post, you could do that too. And I will still keep it anonymous, but I will know who you are. So as long as you don't mind that, then you can do it that way, or you can text me or call me if you have my number or my phone number. Whatever's easiest for you. I just want to get the content out there, and I got a lot of cool ones. I was worried when I went this out. I was like, it's been a while since I've done one of these, so am I even going to get anybody who's interested anymore? And I did. So that was kind of fun for me. So yeah, so I had a bunch of Q&As, and then I had a couple. I had a message from somebody. I always love these messages about relationships. And just so we know, guys, I am not a relationship guru by any means. I am not the, trust me, like I am not the person. I'll give you some general advice, but I am not a therapist. Y'all need therapy. So actually, maybe that's a topic for another time. Who needs therapy and who doesn't? Anyhow, so yeah, let's just get right to it. But I have a bunch of just anonymous questions, and then I had one person who sent me kind of like a, hey, give me your thoughts on this scenario, which I think will resonate with a number of people, particularly in the Mormon community, because I think it's a problem that I bet a lot of couples have had. And then just some general thoughts on some conversations that I've had recently with just friends who reach out to me about their issues. And I don't know why I tend to be a bit of a lightning rod for anybody who's having an issue with their faith or their marriage. I'm not, like I said, I mean, I'm always willing to help and give advice, but trust me, I'm not necessarily the person, who's winning at these things. So, but I will give you my thoughts. So we'll just go from there. All right. So, all right, let's start with some of the questions. Do you believe in any conspiracy theories? I don't know. I guess it depends on what you mean by conspiracy theory. They're fun. I like listening to them. I love hearing other people talk about them and all the evidence for them. I listen to a bunch of podcasts on it. One of my favorite podcasts I just had was Flat Earth Dave. Flat Earth Dave came on, and you know what? It was actually really funny. I got to tell you, if you ever get a chance to go back, it's just a couple episodes back. I interviewed Flat Earth Dave, who was a dude who just, yeah, that's exactly. He's a flat earther, and one of the more popular ones in the world. And he told me when we started the podcast, before I even hit record, he goes, just so you know, this is going to be your most popular podcasts. And I go, really? He goes, yes, because the haters will not leave me alone. And he is dead on, balls accurate. It was very popular. It was an interesting conversation. I don't believe anything he said. So yeah, I love conspiracy theories. I love talking about them. I love the guys who think that we didn't actually go to the moon, or that 9/11 was an inside job, or I had somebody who wanted to come on the podcast because they had done a documentary that COVID wasn't even a real disease, and I was like, you know what, that's one that I'm going to steer clear from. You want to come on and talk about all the reasons why you think the vaccines were bad or whatever, we can have that conversation. But COVID is definitely a real disease. So, but anyway. Back to the question, is there a conspiracy theory I believe in? I do believe that there are aliens. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's true. I don't know if they're necessarily coming to Earth all the time, but I do. But I do believe that we are not the only ones here on the planet. So there you go. That's a conspiracy theory I believe. Oh, and I also believe the NBA is rigged, for sure. The fact that the Dallas Mavericks, after trading away a generational player to the Lakers, the most popular team, the biggest market in the NBA, traded him there as LeBron James is retiring, without shopping him literally anywhere else, for Anthony Davis, who immediately got injured, as he always does. And then somehow that team, with a 1.3% chance, got the number one pick, and is going to end up getting Cooper Flagg, who is arguably, everyone's already saying, is the next generational player. That's shenanigans to me. Meanwhile, the Kings just are in perpetual losing all the time. It doesn't make any sense. So there's another conspiracy theory I believe in. Okay, next. Do you think looks matter more than personality? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. No, 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 no. Personality matters for sure. Sanity matters for sure. Um, yeah. So, uh, no, that's not to say looks aren't important. You obviously do have to be physically attracted to your partner. I actually have had this conversation with multiple of my kids now as they are reaching dating age. I got a 16-year-old daughter. Austin, is 18, and they've all both been interested in dating and all that, and I tell them all the same thing. I go, listen, like, you obviously want to be physically attracted to your companion, but you also need to be emotionally connected to that person. Um, there used to be, and this is going to go to the Mormons. I remember when I was a kid, when I was younger, before I had gotten married and all those things, way back when I came home from my mission. Um, they were talking about uh, any two righteous members of the church can make it work, can make a marriage work. And I remember thinking, okay, great. That sounds great. And then I got married and, really struggled in that marriage. Right. And so, uh, and I use that experience to share with my kids. I go, yeah, that's true. Right. Like, and I see a lot of people struggling, even now, like people who have been divorced and then people who are married, where like, they kind of took that advice and didn't, they were attracted physically to their partners in their early 20s when most Mormons get married, or their mid 20s. And then they were spiritually attracted to each other because they were both righteous members of the church. But then they didn't really have a lot in common other than that. And what's happening now is I'm seeing a lot of people where maybe somebody's feelings have changed. Maybe their spirituality has changed. Maybe they don't feel the same way as they once did about their faith, or maybe they went through some things that have caused their faith to struggle, and maybe it's only one of the people in the marriage that's happened. And as we all know, you don't look the same as you did in your 20s. Some of us look better than we did, but most of us don't, right? And physical attraction fades. The puppy dog phase goes away. And so if all you have is physical attraction and spiritual attraction, but you don't have any attraction in any other way, what happens in those circumstances? Because then if somebody feels a little differently about their faith, well, do you guys have anything else in common? Do you like the same things? Do you like going to movies together? Can you enjoy life together? I don't know, right? So there's so much more to it than that. And I think the personality part has to do with that, because, part of personality is not just, are they funny? Are they smart? Can you talk about the same things? Do you enjoy the same things? But also how they communicate. How do you communicate well? Do you have the same communication styles? That all becomes incredibly important as you get older and you have kids and you have all these other things that put stressors on your life. So no, I don't think that looks are more important than personality. Although I will say that in fact there have been people that I found incredibly attractive who their personality made them less attractive over time. And there have been some people who, I don't know if I've ever had a situation where I was completely unattracted to somebody and then somehow their personality made them attractive to me. But I can say that my attraction has grown with personality as well. So there you go. Okay. Are you the jealous type? I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily think so. I don't know if I would call myself the jealous type. Um, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, there have been some experiences in my life that have caused me to be a little more on guard. We'll say with regard to relationships and speaking of people of the opposite sex, but I wouldn't consider myself the jealous type. So I don't know. Maybe you should ask somebody else about that. Anyway, let's see. Let's see. Who do you consider your best friend? Well, I got to tell you, like when it comes to best friends, I've had the same best friends since seventh grade, and they're I have a lot of friends that I would consider. I have a lot. I've been really blessed in my life to have some very close friends for a very long time, which is super important to me. I do take pride in the fact that like that I that my friend group has been able to maintain decades, and I've added more, over the years. But generally, I mean, the people I knew in high school, and friends from middle school, I am still friends with a lot of them, and I think some of that is just living in the same city pretty much my whole life, but also just I do put a lot of work into my relationships. I do put a lot of work into calling and talking to people who I care about. And I got two friends, Chris and Brian, that have been my friends since seventh grade that I still talk to. But I have a ton of other people that have really just, especially over these last few years when I've really kind of needed people to kind of I don't know if the word vent is the right word, but maybe just bounce things off of. You know, I've been really blessed with a lot of people who really do care about me, and that's been very apparent. So I'm grateful. Let's see. Uh, let's see. How would you describe your sense of humor? I would say my sense of humor is sarcastic and can be crude, but not always. I think I like a good sarcastic joke. I do like stand up comedy, and I don't get offended easily. So, yeah, I mean, I like a lot of different things. Some of my favorite movies are, you know, are comedies. Anchorman, Ace Ventura. Uh, I love Dumb and Dumber. I love Happy Gilmore. Oh man, that '90s SNL humor was really got me. Even like Wayne's World, just stuff like that. So let's see. Who do you want to win the NBA championship? Okay, so I am very much rooting for the Pacers right now. I would love the Pacers to win for twofold. One, my mission was in Indiana, um, so that's part of it. But also Tyrese Halliburton, he was a king. He was drafted to the Kings, and I said when we traded him, I think we traded the wrong point guard. I understand why it happened, and we wouldn't have gotten Domantas Sabonis without trading Tyrese Halliburton. So I understand the logic behind it, but Tyrese was very clear that he wanted to stay here and help us win a championship, and he, they traded him away, and didn't work out with De'Aaron Fox ultimately, and Tyrese is now over there just playing mad basketball. And I was just talking to my son Lincoln about this, and he's like, "Oh, he had a crappy regular season." I'm like, "Who cares? He's killing it in the playoffs, and that's what you want." So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Pacers winning. I'm hoping they win. It's a 2-1 series. As I'm recording this, tomorrow will be Game 4 in Indiana. So let's see if they can get that 3-1 lead. So there's that. But yeah, that's who I'm hoping for. if the Kings can't make it, a former King winning would be awesome. Let's see. It was great seeing you in the ring again. Any matches coming up? Yeah, so I just, for the first time, and man, it's probably been, I don't even know, 9-10 months. I got in the ring this last weekend, and it was a lot of fun. I actually felt really good. I felt a little lighter on my feet. I've been working on cutting some weight, which has been good. Working hard in the gym to do that, and yeah, so it felt good, like remarkably well, much better than I thought I was going to feel, because when you take that much time off, your timing's a little off, your ring, the ring rust is there, and then also you get blown up real easy, and I really didn't. I felt good. So I do have some things in the works. I'm not going to announce it yet. I'm going to wait till it gets closer. Hopefully I have one here in Sacramento that I'll be able to invite a bunch of friends to, so they can come and check it out. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm getting some inquiries from out of town bookings. So we'll see. I don't know. It's been fun. I'm getting back in the swing of things. I'm starting to do things to kind of help, things that I have put on hold, that I am trying to get back, just kind of feel better doing these things. And so this is one of them. The podcast, another one. I'm just getting back to being me. So let's see. When does Austin leave on his mission? Okay, so we are T-minus 1 week until he reports to home NTC 1 week from today. So he will be getting set apart here this week. And then, yeah, he starts on Monday. He'll hang out here. And then on June 11th, he is to report to the MTC in Provo, and then that will be it. He actually just got his tags, and he got his little minister certificate, and it has his going away date and his return date on it. So it was pretty interesting. So yeah, he's ready to go. I got to tell you, I was just telling him and his friend Maya was here, who's also going on a mission. There's a rash of them that are all going out, and I just couldn't be prouder of all of them. I've watched these kids grow up, and some of them I've even taught in Sunday school, and watching these kids grow up, I am so impressed. It's funny because a lot of people my generation just kind of crap all over the youth, this generation, for a number of reasons, but I got to tell you, I've taught Sunday school for the 16 to 18-year-olds, and we're in good hands. They are so much more prepared than my generation ever was, to go out on a mission and to serve. Austin has just become a spiritual giant. He really has, and as his friends. But I was just telling them that they're so ready, even though they don't feel like they're ready. They're so ready, and he's just ready to get out there and do it. And it's exciting. So couldn't be prouder of him. Just love that kid so much. And I love the example he's setting, for his siblings. He's also, a better big brother than I ever was as well. So he really cares about his siblings, even if sometimes it's hard to tell. Okay. Next, I love your gospel doctrine lessons. Where did you learn to teach so well, and any advice for new teachers? I learned how to teach on my mission, so that was helpful. In my first area, actually, while I was teaching the gospel, just going door to door and knocking on doors and learning the lessons, I was also called to be the branch mission leader in the branch. The branch was just not very it was a real small branch. There was only like 30 members. There wasn't a lot of priesthood. So I was our own ward mission leader or branch mission leader. So I would have to teach the gospel principles class every week. And so all that teaching together was really helpful. And as far as advice for new teachers, I think number one, do not prepare your lesson, actually prepare a lesson. That's one thing. I would recommend you try to prepare it at least a week in advance. When you do that, you get a chance to really kind of think about your lesson all week and make changes as you go through. The other thing I would recommend you do is as you're going through the lesson, you're reading the scriptures that you're supposed to go over. Read them with intent. And when things come up and you have questions, write those questions down and ask your class, because sometimes that's the best conversations I've had have been that way, have been questions that I've had. I don't know the answer to this. What do you guys think? The other thing is I think it's important to know your audience. So the way I would teach a Sunday school class for a 16-year-old is way different than a gospel doctrine class where people range from their mid 20s to 80. They have different life experiences. And the other thing is also, I would recommend that you come up with questions that you want to ask about a set of scriptures. I would not recommend you read long sets of scriptures, 10, 20 verses at a time. Pick a couple of scriptures that are super important, ask questions about those scriptures, and try to tie that to something that's important in people's lives. And I would just keep it really simple on basic principles of the gospel. Every time I go in there, I have a question that I want to ask about a topic, and I have already answered it myself in case somebody else doesn't have an answer, right? So yeah. And also I think the other thing is just love your people. I really love my gospel. This is my favorite calling I've probably ever had. I've done pretty much everything you can do. I've been in every form of leadership. I've been in a bishopric. I've been an elders quorum president. I've been on a high council. I've done ward mission leader, young men's presidency, Sunday school. I don't know if I've ever been in the Sunday school presidency, but I've, activity days, primary, I've done it all. And I think teaching gospel doctrine has been my favorite calling, probably other than teaching the 16 to 18-year-olds, because I luckily just had a great group. So so that's my advice. Okay, let's see. How are you doing, really? Well, I am doing better than I think I've done in a long time. I recently had a meeting with my bishop to discuss just, things going on in my life, things that have happened in my life that I was not able to necessarily let go of, and things that I was harboring some resentment over, and things that I would say letting go. Meeting with the bishop allowed me to let go of the life that I thought I should have had, if that makes sense, as far as what my life would have looked like. I don't talk about all of these things publicly on purpose because, people listen to this, and people who are close to me, and I respect their privacy with regard to this, the things that are going on. And there's just some things that I keep, a lot of the stuff I put a lot of stuff out on social media, and I'm very public about a lot of areas of my life, particularly the positive things. But uh, but yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on, and there have been some people that I've shared them with, and they know how hard it has been. As I make a transition, um, as I've made the long transition to where I am in life now, and I got to tell you, I was finally able to kind of let go of some things that I have been harboring and holding on to, and I feel so much better. Um, it was getting, if I'm being vulnerable, it was getting pretty hard there for a long while. Um, I was not able to really, I was really struggling with focus and things like that because I just, you know, things were really dark and hard. Just um, as I get to kind of the end of this transitional period, it's been difficult. And yeah, I mean, I know I'm being super vague here, guys. I'm sure a lot of people have read between the lines, but yeah, I've felt, I would say that like over the last, I would say even just like month or two, um, my worst days now are better than my best days were 6 months to a year ago. I mean, as far as just emotionally, and that's the thing I would say, finally accepting that I was never going to heal emotionally, spiritually by staying in the same spot that made me sick in the first place. And so, if that makes sense. Maybe I've said too much. Anyway, so yeah, I'm actually doing pretty good. Not to say that there's not, look, raising 4 kids is hard. Raising it like this is hard. And being everything to everyone, is hard. But I'm doing the best I can with what I have. So, okay. How do you think we can better apply the atonement in our lives? I am going to save that one for the end, because that I think applies to what I want to say at the very end of this. So we'll just hold on to that. But I do want to read this gem of a message. This is fun. I think it's going to resonate with some people. But when I saw this, I laughed and I just went like, okay, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, all right. So I'll just say it. Okay, here we go. Dear Josh, I've been married for a bunch of years. Parentheses, won't share how many because I don't want to give it away. All right. End of parentheses there. Says, you've said in the past that lots of your friends seem to be having problems in their marriages. Well, I'm one of them. My wife stays home with our kids, which is definitely a tough job. Well, there's your first mistake, calling it a job or her job. Anyway, and it says, the problem is I am working a very busy sales job. It is full commission, which means if I don't work, I don't get paid. Also, my paychecks fluctuate, so it's hard to budget. Some months we're doing great and others we're kind of tight. On the months we're tight, she seems more mad at me. She keeps asking me to help her around the house. How? I'm gone all day. Plus, all of my kids are in school now, so it's not like she's with them all day. She basically has the entire morning to herself, and I don't have time to myself at all. I don't mind that she has time off, but the thing is, as soon as I get home, my wife expects me to relieve her. It's like she's expecting me to come home from my hard job and relieve her of her hard job. I'd be fine with it if it was like a 50-50 thing, but she just kind of sits on her phone or iPad and plays on social media for the rest of the night. If I say anything, she gets mad and talks about how she never gets a break. Well, by the time the kids are down, I'm exhausted, so I just go to bed and have to wake up to the same thing like Groundhog Day. Any thoughts on what I can do? I'm feeling pretty crappy right now. While I love my wife, I'm starting to resent her, and it's showing too. I appreciate any words of wisdom you could share. Well, if you're talking like that, I can't imagine why she'd be upset. Look, I'm joking a little bit. I can feel the resentment. I don't know your situation at all. This is somebody who I don't really talk to intimately, so I don't know really much of anything. What I There's so many variables here, but I think what I want to talk about is generally. I think that this is a problem that, particularly with regard to members of the LDS faith, that tends to be a bit of an issue, and that is for those who are not Mormon, LDS, whatever we call ourselves now. It is very common culturally that for a Mormon marriage to have traditional gender roles, where the man goes out and works, and the woman will stay home and raise the children. That is not all the time. It's probably it's still probably the majority, although not as large of a majority now as it was, say, 20, 30 years ago. But that is still kind of the traditional preferred kind of roles in a marriage within the LDS church. And so, and also culturally, again, this is a little different now than it was back, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, but it is very common that that these couples will get married very young, like in their early 20s, like 23, 24, and the girls sometimes are 19, 20, 21 years old. One of a young lady I know who was, I think she was maybe 19, maybe 20, got married just this last weekend, which is great. Congratulations to her. But like, my point being is that this is very common. And what also happens a lot is that because they're so young and then they start having kids so young, they never have, the stay-at-home parent has never really had had to support a whole family, and also has never really had like a job in a professional setting that of consequence. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm not talking like an internship somewhere, or working at a, as a receptionist, or working at a diner, or, as a waiter or a waitress, or like, a college job. I mean, like a real professional job where you actually have deadlines and there's pressure. Sometimes that there's a problem there, in that, because, like the man, goes to work and has the pressure of, particularly in this situation. I mean, I've worked a commission job. I mean, my job now, I mean, as an attorney, I wouldn't call it a commission job, but I do get paid based on, based on the fees I bring in. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of pressure there to perform, and, and it fluctuates. So real hard to budget when your commission is fluctuating. When I sold cell phones, it was very much like, I knew December every single year was going to be the biggest month of my year. And I knew January was going to be the roughest month of the year. So we really had to budget. Like, I had to budget hard for January, knowing that I was not going to be making as much as I did the month before. So, but there's a lot of pressure to that. And unfortunately, what I see happening here is, when you have that kind of dichotomy, where you have like one of the person in the couple is out working and the other one is staying at home, those are completely different pressures. As someone who has been doing both for some time, like, working and taking care of kids full time and doing all that, it's a different kind of pressure and a different kind of exhaustion. And so unless you've done both, you don't understand. Like, I can tell you right now, sir, the problem you were probably having is that, one, your wife does not understand the pressures of your job as a full commission employee who is trying to take care of you and however many kids you have and your wife. That being said, you also don't understand the very different pressures that your wife is going through in raising your kids. I don't know, I don't even know necessarily. Maybe I should have checked, but I don't even know how old your kids are. But like, hearing what you're saying here, if she's just got the morning open, um, I mean, are all your kids in full-time school, or like, do you have a kid in kindergarten? Because if you have a kid in half-time kindergarten, that's actually worse, because you gotta drop them all off, but then you gotta pick one of them up early, and then you gotta go back to the school again. It's 3 trips every single day, and that's annoying. And on top of that, imagine, like, your wife, her whole identity, like, imagine, like, you have an identity at work that's different than your identity at home. And maybe, like, at work, that everybody knows you're a dad and you're a husband and all that. But, like, you have an identity there, and she does, her identity all day is your kid's mom, right? And she's not getting a lot of, I assume, I'm assuming here, probably not getting a lot of adult interaction. And have you ever had, I don't know if you've ever had like a weekend alone with your kids or a week alone with your kids, but they are exhausting, especially when they're young. Mine are older and they're pretty much self-sufficient. They're still exhausting a lot of the time. They're and if they're younger, you got to keep them all alive. You got to keep them off of from jumping off the roof. That's a tough job. And so yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Right. I understand what you're saying here. This line where you say, as soon as I get home, my wife expects me to relieve her. I get what you're saying. This is, again, a situation where she doesn't understand what you've gone through, and you don't understand what she's gone through. So her day has been exhausting. Your day has been exhausting. And she kind of thinks that your day was just kind of willy-nilly goofing around. You're not having to deal with what she had to deal with, and you're thinking the same thing. Well, you didn't have to deal with what I had to deal with. And I guarantee you that either one of you, if you were able to switch, you would feel it the way the other person does. Your wife probably couldn't do your job, and you probably couldn't do hers, as far as being a stay-at-home mom. So I get all of that. I think this is just a breakdown. I think that this is a breakdown in communication for everyone. And I think that there's a lot of couples in this situation where they just don't get it. Like, your wife does not get the pressures. The way I would describe it is, and this is like, you get hit, you are making it all happen. You are financially funding everybody else's life, and you're a commission salesperson. You don't get a day off. If you take a day off, you lose money. And so you have to go to work. Your whole life is have to. You have to go and do it. You have to be there. You have to grind. Because if you don't, everything is riding on it. And if you get hit by a bus, they are screwed, because nobody's going to be able to do that for you, right? However, imagine having just 4 squirrels running around, and you got to wrangle them constantly, and they're not listening to anything you're saying, and they're not buying anything that you're selling, and they won't eat the food that they were made. They want something different. They want to go and do this other thing. They don't clean up after themselves. They're just like, it's like having little drunk roommates all the time that just do whatever. They vomit everywhere, and there's just, it's insanity all day. So I think that really what I would say is, you guys really need to just sit down and talk about it, and really talk about it in a way that you're not trying. This is another thing that I see a lot when I talk to some of my friends, is that they're having all these conversations where they're not listening to understand. They're like trying to prove their point, especially in this context where it's like neither one of you is trying to hear the other person's plight at all. You are both so focused on your own exhaustion that you are failing to see the other person or hearing the other person at all. She is not hearing you when you're saying, I am stressed because I am trying to keep this family afloat. And it is a struggle because, man, if I have a bad week at work, we may not be able to pay our bills. And that is scary. And if I get disabled, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? If I get hurt, if I die, what are you going to do? And that's on, as someone who provides, has been funding, that funds everything. I mean, I do very well for myself, but man, like it's a pressure. It is a pressure to make sure that everybody's able to do all the things that they want to do and that they have a good life and that they have all their clothes and their food and their extracurriculars and that they can pay for college and do all this stuff. Like that is on our minds constantly. And then also their emotional warfare. If you're, to the ladies out there who have husbands who are supporting the family financially, I really hope that you are not looking at this in the lens of all he does is work and I do everything else. Because you probably do most of the other things. That is true. But that thing that he does to him, there's so much pressure in that you don't understand. You don't understand the pressure of like the thought of this is all hanging on us, this is all hanging on it's all on me. I have to bring home this money because if I don't, then child X is not going to be able to play basketball. I'm not going to be able to do those shoes. That vacation is not going to happen. Oh my gosh, if the car breaks down, what are we going to do? That's a huge pressure and a huge deal. And meanwhile, guys, if your wife is sitting there and saying she needs help, like, listen to what she's saying because, and think about what it is that you're giving up. You're truly giving up for those things. And I'm not talking about a situation like this. Like, I don't know if it's really like this where she's literally sitting on an iPad all night. If that's true, then that obviously is a concern, right? Like, you're right. It's not fair that you come home and do everything while she just kind of sits on the couch, unless it's a day she needs a break, but, so, I mean, my advice is try to communicate better and try to sit down and explain why you really are feeling the way that you're feeling. What you're really feeling is overwhelmed. What you're really feeling is fear. What you're really feeling is frustration. And share that. And if you can't, maybe this is a situation where going and seeing a good couples therapist, and I say a good one, a good couples therapist who will help you decode what's really going on inside. Maybe that's the best way to do it. But I wish you well, man. That's rough. It's a rough go. All right. I don't know, though. Let me just say the caveat again. I'm not necessarily like the wizard here when it comes to this stuff. I'm not, maybe I had a special case, but, I'm not necessarily the relationship guru. But I appreciate you reaching out to me, and feel free to do it again if you need to. All right. So here's what I really wanted to talk about today. And, this kind of goes into the question that came in. And it was the question of how do you think we can more fully apply the atonement in our lives? And let me just break this down by saying there are many aspects of the atonement that I think everybody understands. Sacrifice of Jesus Christ, the repentance of sins, Um, that is pretty universally known. The concept of the atonement was that, like, you can make mistakes and be forgiven of those mistakes through the atonement. And I think some people even recognize the atonement, the atonement of being able to take on your burdens and your sorrows as well. But I think that there is a level of the atonement that is there to help us what are the words I'm looking for? To help us to maybe release us from the smallness of our own thinking about ourselves. How do you view yourself? Rhetorical question for the listeners. How do you view yourself? How often do you criticize yourself? How often do you brush off compliments? How often do you dwell on all of your negative traits? How does God view you? How do you think God views you? So recently I have had several conversations with people from my friend group. And I'm thinking of one in particular who felt like they are just not living up, that they are not enough, that for whatever reason, their faults are too many or their mistakes were too great. And they understand this concept that the atonement he's given them, forgiven them, and all these things, but that they think that even though they went through that atonement and they did those things and they went through whatever repentance process they needed to go through, or they've received some sort of forgiveness from God, there's still a prevailing feeling amongst the people I talk to that they're not good enough. Like maybe they feel like God loves them, sure, but maybe he will love them a little bit more tomorrow. Maybe he'll love them a little bit better when they've become better. That their offering to God will be better accepted when they're a little more righteous, or that maybe God is punishing them with their faults and God will relieve them when they've overcome that struggle or weakness, and then God's love will be better. And I can tell you personally that I have felt that. I felt that recently. I've heard this concept of people, the people say that God gives his strongest warriors his toughest battles. And I've just been like, you know what? I don't want to be at war anymore. I don't want that. I'm tired of the battles. I want peace. Over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years, I've had several serious talks with God, with my Father in heaven. I've had angry talks with God about things that have happened in my life that were outside of my control, and some of them that were. And the overwhelming feeling I have continued to receive, and that I have received recently, which has helped me to let go of some of those things that I talked about earlier, was that God loves us completely, even if we are not complete. He loves us perfectly, even if you are not perfect. It doesn't matter if you are doing something wrong. It doesn't matter if you are doing something right. He loves you 100%. He's not going to love you better when you become better. He loves you 100% as you are right now at this very moment, even if you don't want to change, even if you have no plans on following him. He will still love you 100% all the time. At this moment, not tomorrow when you repent, not when you finally get over that one sin that's been plaguing you. He loves you. His love is designed to set you free from yourself. So, you know, I have learned that lesson in the midst of suffering. I have learned of God's unwavering love in the depths of the things I most wish had not happened. There is a quote by J.R.R. Tolkien that says, it's a question, what of God's punishments are not gifts? I believe that we are here on this earth to have a very real human experience. Part of that humanity is failure. Part of that humanity is the free agency of others and the free agency of yours. Part of humanity is betrayal. Part of humanity is people treating you in a way that you don't want to be treated. Part of humanity is suffering. But it is in those moments when I am struggling, when things are going great, when I am humbled by the circumstances that have befallen me, when the refiner's fire has shaped me into the human that I think I was eternally designed to be. I am grateful for my life. We can't pick and choose what we are grateful for. We have to be grateful for all of it, the good, the bad, and the very, very ugly. I would not be who I am without the experiences I've had. That includes the bad. Because of those things, I feel I have become much more empathetic. I have become a person who can understand somebody who are in the depths of struggles, where for a long time I wasn't. And I, for one, am grateful for those who love me, who have lifted me up when I cannot stand, who stand up for me in rooms that I'm not in. And for anyone who has, I hope I can return the favor. And I hope that this podcast is part of that. So I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to be the best version of myself that I can be. And not just for my family or my friends, but for me. So lots of big changes, lots of big things have happened. I'm excited for where life is going. I am grateful for where things are going. I'm grateful for this podcast. I got a lot of things coming up that I'm really excited about. And so hopefully you guys hang on. Okay. Love you guys so much. All of you. Shout out to everyone who's stuck with me. You can always drop me a line, follow me anywhere, subscribe to the podcast, hit me up. You can ask me, you can always here to listen to you. If you want my advice, I'll give you what I can. Thanks for listening, guys. We will talk to you again soon. Until then, enjoy.